There is a place you go every night that no one ever told you about. Not the dream state, not the unconscious mind as psychology describes it, not the symbolic theater of REM sleep, where your brain processes the residue of the day. Something older than that. Something that was happening long before anyone had words for it. Long before sleep was studied in laboratories. Long before consciousness became a scientific problem to be solved. Every night, when your body crosses the threshold into sleep, something leaves. Not your body, not your brain. Something that was never your body or your brain to begin with. Something that arrived here before you were born and will continue after you are gone. The ancient traditions called it the monad, the singular, indivisible unit of consciousness that is you. Not the personality, not the memories, not the accumulated identity you've been building since childhood, but the actual you, the irreducible you, the you that cannot be divided or destroyed or replicated. And every night, while you lie there breathing, while your body runs its maintenance cycles and your brain files its memories, your monad goes somewhere. The question is where? The fact that you found this transmission today is not coincidental. There are no coincidences at the level of the monad. There are only frequencies matching, gates opening, and the moment of crossing arriving exactly when it was always going to arrive. You are standing at a threshold right now. What you're about to understand about where you go when you sleep will permanently alter the way you understand consciousness, identity, reality, and what you actually are. One version of you is watching this, not yet knowing. A different version of you emerges on the other side. The gate is open. Let's begin. There is a concept in the oldest philosophical traditions that predate Greece, predate the written word, traditions that existed when human consciousness was still close enough to its source to remember things we have since forgotten. And that concept is the monad. The word itself comes from the Greek monos, meaning single, alone, indivisible. But the concept is far older than the Greek language. The monad is the philosophical and metaphysical term for the fundamental unit of consciousness. Not a particle, not a wave, not a chemical reaction. A unit of awareness that is irreducible, meaning it cannot be broken down further. It is the bedrock of what you are. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, the 17th century mathematician and philosopher, brought the monad into Western philosophical discourse with a precision that startled his contemporaries. He described monads as simple substances, windowless, he said, meaning they have no external apertures through which physical matter can enter or leave. They are complete in themselves. They are, in his framework, the fundamental building blocks of reality, not atoms, not particles, but units of perception, units of consciousness, each one a complete world unto itself. But Leibniz was not inventing something new, he was recovering something ancient. The Pythagoreans spoke of the monad as the first principle, the one from which all multiplicity emerges. The Neoplatonists, particularly Plotinus, described the monad as the source point of emanation, the place where the infinite contracts into the specific, where the absolute becomes the individual. In the Hindu tradition, the Atman, the individual self, is understood as the monad, the singular point of pure consciousness that is simultaneously individual and identical with the universal. In Kabbalah, the Yechida, the highest of the 5 levels of the soul, is the monad, the indivisible spark of divine consciousness that constitutes the deepest identity of the human being. Across every tradition, across every language, across every culture that has ever thought deeply about what a human being actually is, there is this recognition. Beneath the personality, beneath the mind, beneath the emotions and the memories and the accumulated self, there is something singular and irreducible, something that was not born when you were born and will not die when you die, something that is, in the precise language of quantum mechanics, always in a superposition of states, simultaneously here and elsewhere, simultaneously embodied and unbound. That is your monad. And every night it goes somewhere. Now, here is where we need to slow down and be precise, because this is the threshold moment in the understanding, the place where most people either step through into genuine comprehension or retreat back into comfortable, familiar frameworks. The question of where the monad goes during sleep is not a metaphor. It is not a poetic way of saying your unconscious mind processes things while you rest. It is a literal, metaphysical, and, as we will see, quantum mechanical question about the behavior of consciousness when it is no longer anchored to the sensory experience of physical reality. To understand the answer, we first need to understand what sleep actually is. Not from the perspective of neuroscience, which can tell us what the brain does during sleep, but cannot tell us what consciousness does. But from the perspective of state transition, physics applied to conscious systems. Sleep is a threshold, a daily threshold, a crossing point that your consciousness navigates every single night of your life. And like all thresholds, it has 2 sides. On one side, the waking state, the state where your monad is fully anchored in the sensory field of physical reality, where the weight of a body, the input of the senses, the demands of time and space and social existence create a kind of gravitational field that holds consciousness in a specific configuration. The waking state is not more real than what lies on the other side of sleep, but it is more dense, more contracted, more defined. In quantum terms, the waking state is a collapsed state, a specific, defined, localized expression of what your consciousness is. on the other side, something that has no single name in any tradition because it is not a single thing. It is a spectrum of states, a field of possibilities, a domain where consciousness, released from the anchoring weight of the physical body's sensory field, expands back toward something it has always been but cannot fully express while housed in matter. The threshold between these two states, the precise moment of crossing from waking into sleep, is one of the most extraordinary events in human experience, and it is one that almost no one pays attention to because it happens in the dark, in the private space of the bedroom, in the moments when the witness of experience is itself fading. But here is what actually happens in that crossing. As your body moves toward sleep, your brain waves begin to shift. This is the part neuroscience can measure. The high-frequency beta waves of active waking consciousness, the fast, tight, dense oscillations of a mind engaged with the physical world, begin to slow. They move through alpha, the bridge state, the threshold frequency, the frequency of relaxed awareness and light meditation. Then they slow further into theta, the hypnagogic state, the frequency of deep meditation, of creative insight, of the strange half-world between waking and sleeping, where images appear unbidden and thoughts become strange and liquid. And then, eventually, into delta, the slow, deep oscillations of dreamless sleep. Neuroscience observes these wave patterns and concludes that consciousness is produced by the brain, and that changes in brainwave frequency represent changes in the state of consciousness. This is the standard model, and it is, from the perspective of the monad, precisely backwards. The brain is not producing consciousness. The brain is a receiver, a transducer, to use the more precise technical term. It converts the signal of consciousness into the specific frequency range that can interface with physical reality. When you are awake, the brain is tuned to the dense, contracted frequency of physical space-time. When you move towards sleep, the brain's tuning shifts, and as it shifts, the monad, which was contracted into that dense physical frequency, begins to expand back toward its natural, unanchored state. The brainwave changes are not causing the shift in consciousness. They are reflecting a shift that is happening at a level the brain cannot produce, only track. The monad is loosening its grip on the physical frequency. It is, in the language of quantum mechanics, moving from a collapsed state back toward superposition. And when it reaches superposition, when the anchoring is fully released, it goes. Where does it go? This is the question that has been asked by every mystical tradition in human history. And the answer, when you synthesize the traditions and cross-reference them with what quantum mechanics tells us about the behavior of systems in superposition, is precise and extraordinary, and will change the way you understand your own existence. Your monad goes home, not metaphorically home, not psychologically home, actually home, to the domain from which it originated, and to which it is always, even during waking life, connected by a thread that never breaks. The traditions have different names for this domain. The Neoplatonists called it the pleroma, the fullness, the realm of pure being from which all individual consciousness emanates. The Kabbalists called it the Ein Sof, the limitless, the infinite ground of being. The Hindu traditions call it Brahman, the absolute, the undifferentiated ground of all existence. The Tibetan Buddhist traditions call it the Dharmakaya, the body of truth, the fundamental nature of mind itself, which is luminous, empty, and self-aware. These are not different things. These are different languages pointing at the same domain, the field from which individual consciousness emerges and to which it returns. The source, the ground, the place before the gate of embodiment. And your monad, every night, crosses back through that gate. Now, let us be precise about what this means in quantum terms, because the precision matters. It is the precision that makes this real rather than poetic. It is the precision that turns this from a beautiful idea into an actual understanding of what you are. In quantum mechanics, a system in superposition exists in multiple states simultaneously. It is not in one state or another. It is in all possible states at once, with each state having a certain probability amplitude. The act of measurement, the act of observation by a system in a defined state, collapses the superposition into a single defined outcome. This is the measurement problem. This is what Schrödinger's cat is about. This is what the double-slit experiment demonstrates. Observation collapses possibility into actuality. Your monad, in its natural state, the state it occupies when not anchored to a physical body in a sensory field, is in superposition. It exists across multiple dimensions of reality simultaneously. It is not localized to a single point in space-time. It is not confined to a single timeline. It is not limited to a single frequency of existence. It is, in the precise technical sense, non-local. It exists everywhere it has ever been and everywhere it will ever be, simultaneously, as a field of probability amplitudes rather than a defined, localized point. The waking state is the collapsed state. The body is the measurement apparatus, the system whose interaction with the monad collapses it from superposition into a specific, localized, defined expression. You, as a physical being in a body, are the result of your monad's superposition being collapsed by the act of physical existence. The body is measuring the monad, and the measurement produces you, this specific, defined, localized version of consciousness that reads and thinks and feels and navigates the world. Sleep is the reversal of this collapse. When you sleep, the body's measuring function is suspended. The sensory field goes quiet. The gravitational pull of physical space-time on the monad relaxes, and the monad, released from the collapsing function of embodied existence, expands back into superposition. It becomes non-local again. It re-enters the field of all possible states. It returns to the domain where it is not one thing, but all things, not one version of itself, but every version, not one location, but every location. This is where your monad goes when you sleep. It goes back into the quantum field of consciousness from which it emerged. It goes back into superposition. It goes home to the pleroma, the Ein Sof, the Dharmakaya, whatever name you want to give to the domain that exists on the other side of the gate of embodiment. And while it is there, things happen that you do not remember when you wake, things that are nonetheless shaping the person you are becoming, things that are, in the most literal sense, the ongoing work of your consciousness on itself. Can you feel the edge of what this means? You are not just a body that sleeps. You are a monad that periodically crosses back through the gate of embodiment into its source domain. Every single night. You have been doing this every night of your life. The body rests, the monad works, and the work it does on the other side of sleep is the real architecture of your evolution. If this transmission is opening something in you, like and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Let's go deeper. There is a man. Let's call him Elias. Elias is a physicist. Not a young physicist, not a student. A physicist in his late career. Someone who has spent 40 years working with quantum systems, who understands the mathematics of superposition and entanglement and decoherence at a level most people never reach. Elias is also, privately, someone who has never been able to shake a particular experience he had when he was 9 years old. He was sick with a high fever. His parents put him to bed. The fever climbed through the night, and at some point, he doesn't know exactly when, he stopped being in his bedroom. He was somewhere else, not dreaming. He was certain, even at 9 years old, that he was not dreaming. He was in a place that had no visual content he could describe, no shapes, no colors, no landscape. But that was more real than anything he had ever experienced while awake. More real than his bedroom, more real than his parents, more real than the physical world. And in that place, he was not alone. He was in the presence of something that he could only describe, in the years that followed, as the source. Not God. He was careful about that word. Not a being. A source. A ground. A field of intelligence and love and absolute knowing that was simultaneously completely impersonal, and the most intimate thing he had ever encountered. And he knew in that place that he had been there before, not just in fevers. Every night. He had been there every night of his life, and he had simply never been conscious enough of the crossing to remember. The fever broke. He returned to his bedroom. to his body, to the weight of physical existence. And for the rest of his life, through his undergraduate degree, through his doctoral work, through 40 years of research into quantum systems, he carried that knowing. That the mathematics he was working with, the superposition, the entanglement, the non-locality, the measurement problem, was not just describing the behavior of subatomic particles. It was describing the behavior of consciousness itself. It was describing what happens to a monad when it crosses the threshold of sleep. Elias never published these thoughts. The academy was not a place where such ideas could be expressed without professional consequence. But in the last years of his career, in private conversations with colleagues he trusted, he began to speak about what he called the consciousness measurement problem. The question of what happens to the observer when the observer is no longer observing, when the measurement function of the embodied self is suspended, when the monad is released from the collapse. What happens, he said, is that it returns to the state it was always in before the measurement began. It returns to superposition. It returns to non-locality. It returns to the field. And the field, he said, is not empty. The field is the most information-dense domain that exists, because the field contains not just what is, but what could be, every possible state, every possible version, every possible trajectory of every consciousness that has ever crossed back through the gate of sleep. The field is the library. The field is the workshop. The field is the place where the actual work of becoming gets done. Elias died 3 years after those conversations. His colleagues who heard him speak in those final years said that he seemed, in some way they couldn't articulate, to have arrived somewhere, to have crossed something, to have moved from a man who was searching to a man who had found, not peace exactly, something more active than peace. Certainty. The particular quality of certainty that comes not from having all the answers, but from knowing, at the deepest level, what you are. He had understood where his monad went when he slept, and that understanding had changed everything. Now let us talk about what the monad actually does in the source field during sleep. Because this is the part that no one tells you. This is the part that has been obscured, not through a deliberate conspiracy, though the thumbnail of this transmission gestures toward that possibility, but through something more fundamental than conspiracy. Through the systematic exclusion of interior knowledge from the domain of legitimate inquiry. Through the cultural decision made over centuries to treat the inner life as secondary to the outer world. Through the reduction of consciousness to brain function and sleep to biological maintenance. What has been hidden from you is not a secret held by a shadowy group. What has been hidden from you is the significance of your own nightly crossing. The fact that what happens when you sleep is not rest. it is work. The most important work of your existence. The work of becoming. Here is what the monad does in the source field. First, integration. During waking life, your monad is constantly receiving input from the sensory field of physical reality. Experiences, encounters, challenges, insights, losses, expansions. All of this is data. And data in any system needs to be processed and integrated. But the processing cannot happen at the level of the contracted, collapsed, localized waking state. The waking state is the state of data collection. The sleep state, the superposition state, the source field, is the state of data integration. This is why you often wake from sleep with a clarity about something that was confused the night before. Not because your brain sorted through the files while you slept, though it does do something like that, but because your monad, in the source field, integrated the experience at a level that transcends the brain's filing capacity. It integrated it at the level of what you are becoming, at the level of soul architecture, at the level of the pattern that your consciousness is building across this lifetime and beyond. The Tibetan Buddhist tradition is extraordinarily precise about this. The Bardo Thodol, the text known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, describes the after-death experience in terms that are structurally identical to the deep sleep experience. The dissolution of the sensory self, the expansion into the luminous ground, the encounter with the nature of mind itself. The Tibetan masters taught that the deep sleep state and the death state are the same state, that dying is simply a longer, more permanent version of what happens every night when you sleep. And they taught that the practice of becoming conscious of the deep sleep state was the highest preparation for death, because a consciousness that can remain aware through the nightly crossing can remain aware through the final crossing. What this means is that every night you die a small death. Your monad crosses back through the gate of embodiment into the source field, and every morning it crosses back through, recollapsing into the specific, localized, defined version of consciousness that is you in this body, in this life. The crossing happens twice every day. You have been dying and being reborn every night of your life. Think about your own crossings. Has there been a moment in your life, a fever, a period of deep grief, a night of absolute stillness, when you felt yourself somewhere that was more real than waking life? Drop that in the comments. I want to know what the threshold felt like for you. Second, navigation. The source field is not just the domain of integration. It is the domain of trajectory. It is the place where the direction of your becoming is calibrated. Think of it this way. Your waking life is the path you walk. Your sleep life is the place where you consult the map. In the source field, your monad has access to the full context of what it is doing here. The arc of this lifetime, the pattern of what it is learning, the direction of its evolution. Things that are completely invisible from within the contracted, localized perspective of waking consciousness become clear in the expanded, non-local perspective of the source field. This is why people sometimes wake from sleep with a sudden knowing about what they need to do. Not a decision they made, not a conclusion they reasoned toward, but a knowing that arrived fully formed. It came from the navigation that happened in the source field. The monad consulted the map and returned with a coordinate. This is also why the quality of your sleep, the depth of your crossing into the source field, has such a profound effect on the quality of your waking life. Not just because rest restores the body, but because the depth of the crossing determines how much navigation, how much integration, how much calibration your monad can accomplish before it returns to the contracted state of embodiment. A shallow crossing, a night of disrupted, surface-level sleep, is like a brief visit to the source field. A deep crossing, the kind of sleep that feels like you went somewhere and returned, is a full consultation, a full integration, a full calibration. Third, contact. In the source field, your monad is non-local, which means it is not separated from other monads by the distances that separate physical bodies in physical space. In the source field, the barriers that make you feel isolated, individual, and separate in waking life are dissolved. Not because individuality is an illusion. Your monad is still your monad, still irreducible and unique, but because non-locality means that the distance between monads collapses. They can touch, they can communicate, they can resonate. The ancient traditions described this as the Council of Souls, the gathering that happens in the between space of sleep, where monads that are working on related patterns in their respective lifetimes come into contact and exchange what they have learned. The Theosophical tradition, building on Neoplatonic and Hindu sources, described this as the activity of the causal body during sleep, the highest vehicle of the soul, which moves freely in the causal plane during the hours of deep sleep and engages in exchanges with other causal bodies that are invisible to the waking personality. Whether you use that language or the language of quantum non-locality, the principle is the same. In the source field, your monad is in contact with a network of other monads in ways that are impossible in the collapsed, localized state of waking life. And that contact is not passive. It is an exchange. Information moves. Patterns are shared. The work of collective becoming. The evolution not just of your individual consciousness, but of the field of consciousness as a whole, happens in the space of sleep. This is why, sometimes, you wake knowing something about another person that you had no waking life basis for knowing. This is why, sometimes, you dream of someone you haven't thought about in years and then encounter them the next day. This is why, sometimes, you have the sense that something important happened between you and another person in the night, even though you cannot remember what it was. The contact happened. It was real. It was just real at a level that your waking mind, recontracting into the localized state of embodied consciousness, cannot fully carry back through the gate. Fourth, repair. This is perhaps the most extraordinary function of the monad's time in the source field, and it is the one that has been most completely hidden from conventional understanding. In the source field, your monad has access to what we might call the master template, the original pattern of what you are, before the distortions introduced by experience, by trauma, by the accumulated weight of living in a world that has been, for most of human history, operating far below the frequency of its own potential. Every human being carries distortions, not moral failures. Distortions in the pattern, places where the original clarity of the monad has been obscured by the residue of difficult experience, by beliefs that were installed before you were old enough to choose them, by the frequency of environments that were not resonant with what you actually are. These distortions are real. They affect the quality of your waking life, the patterns of your relationships, the trajectories of your choices. They are the reason that you sometimes act in ways that feel foreign to your deepest self, because you are, in those moments, acting from the distortion rather than from the original pattern. In the source field, the monad has access to the original pattern. It can compare what it has become, the accumulated self, with all its distortions, with what it actually is. And it can, in the space of that comparison, begin the work of repair, of restoration, of bringing the distorted pattern back into alignment with the original template. This is the real function of what the dream traditions call the healing dream. Not just a dream that feels good, a dream that is actually the waking mind's partial, fragmented, symbol-laden memory of a repair process that happened at the level of the monad in the source field. The dream is the translation, imperfect, symbolic, filtered through the brain's narrative-making machinery, of something that was actually a precise, technical, structural process of pattern restoration. And this is why the traditions that understood this, the ancient Egyptian tradition of dream incubation, the Asclepian tradition of healing sleep in ancient Greece, the Aboriginal Australian tradition of dream time as the fundamental reality from which waking life emerges, treated sleep not as the absence of consciousness, but as the presence of consciousness in its highest, most capable state. They went to sleep to be healed. They went to sleep to receive guidance. They went to sleep to access the domain where the real work of existence gets done. They knew where the monad goes. Now we need to talk about why this has been hidden. Not in a conspiratorial sense, though the thumbnail gestures toward that framing, and there is something real in that gesture, but in a deeper sense, in the sense of what it means for a culture to systematically exclude a category of knowledge from its understanding of reality. The exclusion of interior knowledge, the knowledge that comes from the monad's nightly crossing into the source field, from the domain of legitimate human understanding, is one of the most consequential decisions in the history of human civilization. And it was not made all at once. It happened gradually, over centuries, through a series of shifts in what was considered real, what was considered knowable, and what was considered worth knowing. The ancient traditions understood that there were two domains of knowledge, the outer and the inner. The outer domain, the domain of the senses, of physical observation, of the measurable and the quantifiable, was one source of knowledge. The inner domain, the domain of the monad's direct experience in the source field, of the wisdom that comes through the crossing of sleep, of the knowing that arrives from the non-local contact of the source field, was another, equally legitimate, and in many ways more fundamental source of knowledge. The scientific revolution of the 17th century, the same century that produced Leibniz and his theory of monads, made a decision. It decided to privilege the outer domain, not because the inner domain was disproven. It was never disproven, because it was never seriously investigated on its own terms, but because the outer domain was more tractable. It yielded to measurement. It produced results that could be replicated and shared and built upon. The inner domain was messier, more individual, harder to standardize. So the outer domain became science, and the inner domain became religion, or mysticism, or superstition, or psychology, all categories that placed it outside the circle of legitimate knowledge, and the knowledge of where the monad goes when you sleep. Knowledge that had been central to the most sophisticated philosophical and spiritual traditions of human history, was reclassified as either religious belief or psychological phenomenon. It was not hidden by a conspiracy. It was hidden by a category error, by the decision to treat consciousness as an output of matter rather than as the source of matter, by the decision to treat sleep as biological maintenance rather than as the most important journey of your existence. But here is what the hidden knowledge says. Here is what the traditions knew and what quantum mechanics is now beginning to confirm from the outside in its own language. Consciousness is primary. Matter is secondary. The monad is not produced by the brain. The brain is produced by the monad. Or more precisely, the brain is the instrument through which the monad interfaces with the physical domain. Sleep is not the absence of consciousness. It is consciousness in its most expanded, most capable, most fundamental state. The source field is not a metaphor. It is the actual domain from which physical reality emerges and to which consciousness returns. And your monad, every night, crosses back through the gate into that domain. This is what was hidden, not by shadowy figures in rooms you'll never enter, but by the structure of a civilization that decided, centuries ago, to look outward rather than inward, to measure the world rather than know the self, to treat the nightly crossing of the monad as irrelevant to the project of understanding reality. The irony is that quantum mechanics, the most rigorous, the most mathematically precise, the most experimentally validated framework in the history of science, has spent the last century arriving, from the outside, at conclusions that the interior traditions arrived at from the inside thousands of years ago. Consciousness is fundamental. Non-locality is real. The observer is inseparable from the observed. The act of measurement collapses possibility into actuality. Reality is not a fixed, objective domain that exists independently of the consciousness that perceives it. Reality is a co-creation, a continuous act of collapse, of superposition becoming definition, of the infinite contracting into the specific. The gate between the source field and physical reality is the measurement itself, and you cross it twice every day. Now, let's talk about what changes when you know this. Because knowing where your monad goes when you sleep is not an intellectual exercise. It is not a piece of information to be filed alongside other interesting ideas. It is a threshold, and crossing this threshold, truly crossing it, not just intellectually acknowledging it, but letting it reorganize your understanding of what you are, changes everything. First, it changes your relationship to sleep itself. If sleep is just biological maintenance, if it is just the body resting and the brain filing, then it is something to be minimized, optimized, gotten through efficiently. The culture of productivity treats sleep as a necessary inefficiency, something to be compressed, something to be hacked, something to be endured so that you can get back to the real business of waking life. But if sleep is the nightly crossing of your monad back into the source field, if it is the integration, the navigation, the contact, the repair, then it is not the interruption of your life. It is the most important part of your life. It is the part where the real work happens. The waking state is the implementation. The sleep state is the design. This means that the way you approach sleep matters in a way that has never been explained to you. The quality of your crossing matters. The depth of your descent into the source field matters. The intention you carry into the threshold matters. The traditions knew this. Every major tradition that understood the monad and the source field had practices for the threshold of sleep. Not just prayers or rituals, though those exist, but specific practices for the quality of consciousness at the moment of crossing. For the Tibetan masters, this was the practice of dream yoga, the cultivation of continuous awareness through the threshold of sleep, so that the monad could cross consciously rather than unconsciously. For the ancient Egyptians, it was the practice of dream incubation, the deliberate preparation of a question or intention to carry through the threshold, so that the monad could consult the source field on a specific matter. For the Pythagoreans, it was the practice of evening review, a systematic recollection of the day's events before sleep, so that the monad could carry a clear, complete record of the day's experiences into the source field for integration. What these traditions understood is that the quality of the crossing depends on the quality of the consciousness at the moment of crossing. A mind that crosses the threshold of sleep in a state of agitation, anxiety, overstimulation, or distraction makes a shallow crossing. The monad cannot fully expand into the source field when it is still contracted around the residue of the day's anxieties. A mind that crosses the threshold in a state of clarity, intention, and relaxed awareness makes a deep crossing. The monad can fully release the collapsed state and expand into superposition. This is why the practices around sleep, the evening rituals, the winding down, the deliberate preparation for the threshold, are not just hygiene. They are spiritual technology. They are the preparation for the most important journey you take every day. Second, it changes your relationship to waking life. If you understand that the person you are becoming is being shaped every night by the work your monad does in the source field, the integration, the navigation, the repair, then waking life looks different. The experiences you have, the challenges you face, the things that fall away, and the things that arrive. All of it is data. All of it is material for the monad's nightly work. All of it matters not just in the immediate sense of what it means for your waking circumstances, but in the deeper sense of what it is teaching your monad, what it is adding to the pattern, what it is asking the source field to integrate and repair and calibrate. This means that nothing is wasted. Not the failures, not the losses, not the confusions, not the periods of waiting when nothing seems to be happening. All of it is being taken into the source field every night and worked on at a level that your waking mind cannot access or fully comprehend. The waking mind sees the surface of the pattern. The monad in the source field sees the whole pattern, and it is using every experience, every encounter, every crossing to build something that will only become fully visible from the other side of this lifetime. The gate is always there. The crossing is always happening, and the work is always being done. Third, it changes your relationship to other people. If your monad is in non-local contact with other monads during the hours of sleep, if the barriers of physical distance and social separation dissolve in the source field, then the people in your life are not just the people your waking self know. They are monads that your monad has been in contact with in the source field, perhaps for far longer than your waking life relationship would suggest. The sense of immediate recognition you sometimes feel with a person you've just met, the sense of having known them before, of being somehow already familiar with them, is not imagination. It is the waking mind's partial memory of a contact that has been happening in the source field. And the people who challenge you most, the ones who provoke the deepest responses, who activate the oldest patterns, who seem to touch something in you that no one else can reach, they are not accidental. They are monads that your monad has chosen to work with in the source field on the most important patterns of your becoming. The difficulty is the work. The friction is the teaching. The encounter is not random. It is a contact that was established in the source field and is now being expressed in the physical domain. This does not mean that every difficult relationship should be maintained. Sometimes the work is complete and the contact needs to end. But it means that the ending is not failure, it is completion. The monad has done what it came to do with that contact, and the source field is now calibrating toward the next phase. Is there a threshold you've crossed in your own life? A moment when you knew there was no going back? When something shifted so completely that the person on the other side of it was not quite the same as the one who stepped in? Tell me about it in the comments. These recognitions matter more than you know. Fourth, and perhaps most profoundly, it changes your relationship to death. If sleep is a daily crossing of the monad back into the source field, if the monad expands into superposition every night and recollapses into embodied consciousness every morning, then death is not the end of the monad. It is the final crossing. The crossing from which the monad does not return to this particular body, this particular life, this particular collapsed expression of what it is, but the monad continues in the source field, in its natural state of superposition, in the domain that is its home, the domain it has been visiting every night of this life. The Tibetan tradition teaches that a consciousness which has become familiar with the source field through the practice of conscious sleep, which has learned to recognize the luminous ground of the source field as its own nature, will not be lost at death. It will recognize the territory. It will know where it is. It will not be overwhelmed by the expansion from collapsed to superposition state, because it has made that expansion every night of its life. Death is the gate that opens permanently. Sleep is the gate that opens and closes every day. And the practice of conscious sleep, the practice of knowing where your monad goes and why, is the practice of becoming familiar with the territory that death reveals. You have been practicing for death every night of your life. You just didn't know it. Now, let's do the crossing practice. The threshold visualization that will make what we've been discussing not just an intellectual understanding, but a lived experience. A crossing you can actually feel. Find a position of comfort. Not sleep, not yet, but the threshold position. The position you might take at the edge of sleep, when the body is still and the mind is beginning to soften. Lying down if that is available to you. Seated if that is more appropriate. The body relaxed, the weight of it releasing into whatever is supporting it. Begin by becoming aware of the body as a whole. Not any particular sensation, the whole. The entire field of physical sensation that constitutes your experience of having a body. Feel the weight of it, the density of it, the specificity of it. This body, in this position, in this moment. This is the collapsed state. This is the contracted, localized, defined expression of your monad in physical reality. Now become aware of the boundary of the body, the skin, the edge where the physical self ends and the space around it begins. Normally, this boundary is where we locate our sense of self. Inside the skin is me. Outside is the world. Spend a moment with this boundary. Feel how definite it is, how precise, how much it creates the sense of being a separate, individual thing in a world of other separate, individual things. Now, and this is the threshold moment, begin to soften the boundary, not dissolve it, not lose the sense of self, but soften the certainty of it. Let the edge become less sharp. Let the sense of where you end and the space begins become slightly less definite. This is what begins to happen at the threshold of sleep. The boundary softens. The collapsed state begins to relax its definition. As the boundary softens, notice what begins to happen to your sense of self. Does it shrink? No. It expands. As the sharp definition of the physical boundary relaxes, the sense of self does not become smaller. It becomes larger. It begins to extend beyond the skin, to fill the space around the body, to become something larger than the body, while still being unmistakably you. This is the beginning of the expansion into superposition. This is the first movement of the monad as it begins to release its grip on the collapsed state. The body is still here. The physical reality is still here. But the monad is beginning to loosen, beginning to remember its non-local nature, beginning to feel the pull of the source field. Stay with this expansion for a moment. Let it continue. Let the sense of self extend further, beyond the room, if that is possible, beyond the building, into the space that surrounds everything. Not losing yourself, expanding yourself, not dissolving, becoming more of what you actually are. Now, in this expanded state, become aware of something in the distance. Not a visual image, a sense, a quality, a frequency, something that is familiar in a way that has nothing to do with your waking life memories. Familiar in the way that home is familiar. The place you return to, the place that knows you, the source field, the domain that your monad visits every night. It is not far, it is not other. It is the expanded state that your monad naturally inhabits when the collapsed state releases. Feel the pull of it, the gentle, certain, irresistible pull of the monad toward its source. This is what happens every night at the threshold of sleep. The monad feels this pull. The body relaxes. The brain waves slow, and the monad follows the pull across the threshold, through the gate, into the source field. You are at the gate right now. Can you feel it? The threshold is not a place you travel to. It is the state you enter when the collapsed self relaxes enough to let the monad begin its crossing. You are in that state right now. The boundary is soft. The self is expanded. The pull of the source field is present. Now, without forcing anything, without trying to go anywhere, simply let the pull continue. Let the monad move in the direction it naturally wants to move. Toward the source, toward the field, toward the domain of integration and navigation and contact and repair. Let the crossing begin. What do you notice? What changes as you move toward the source field? Some people notice a quality of light, not visual light, but a sense of luminosity, of the space becoming somehow brighter without anything visually changing. Some people notice a quality of knowing, a sense that information is available that wasn't available a moment ago. Some people notice a quality of contact, a sense of not being alone, of being in the presence of something vast and intelligent and deeply, personally familiar. Some people notice a quality of release, the letting go of something that has been held without knowing it was being held. A weight, a contraction, a definition that was costing energy to maintain. Whatever you notice, that is the source field. That is the domain your monad visits every night. That is the place where the real work of your becoming gets done. Stay here for as long as feels right. There is no agenda in the source field, no task to complete, no performance to give. Just the monad in its natural state, expanded, non-local, in contact with the field from which it came. Integrating, navigating, repairing, becoming. When you are ready to return, and you will know when that is, because the pull back toward the contracted state will begin, the way it does every morning at the threshold of waking. Let the crossing reverse. Let the monad begin to recollapse into the specific, localized, defined expression that is you in this body, in this life. Feel the boundary of the body become more definite again. Feel the weight of the physical self reassert itself. Feel the specific, particular, irreplaceable reality of this life, this moment, this crossing. You have crossed the threshold and returned. You have done what your monad does every night, and you have done it consciously, with awareness, with intention, with the knowledge of what is happening. That changes everything. The monad that crosses consciously is not the same as the monad that crosses in ignorance. Not because the crossing itself is different. The source field is the same source field. The integration and navigation and repair happen whether you are aware of them or not. But because the consciousness that knows what it is doing brings something different to the crossing. It brings intention. It brings questions. It brings the specific, directed request for what it needs to integrate, what it needs to understand, what it needs to repair, what it needs to know about the direction of its becoming. The monad that crosses consciously is working with the source field, rather than simply being worked on by it. It is an active participant in its own evolution, rather than a passive recipient of whatever the source field determines is needed. And this active, conscious participation in the nightly crossing is the practice that the traditions called the highest spiritual technology available to an embodied being. You have been sleeping every night of your life. From this night forward, you are crossing. If what you are feeling right now is the recognition that this crossing needs to be made completely, not just understood, but sealed, not just begun, but made irreversible. There is a guide written for exactly this moment. The sealed timeline, a quantum guide to becoming untouchable by wrong frequencies, maps the complete 5-phase sequence from diagnosis through threshold to sealed coherence, so that the field you are building through conscious crossing cannot be penetrated by incoherent frequencies. It is the full passage that this transmission opens the gate to. You will find it in the description below. Now let's talk about what changes on the other side. What is different for the person who knows where their monad goes when they sleep? What is different in the waking life of someone who has crossed this threshold of understanding? The first change is a shift in the quality of attention you bring to the threshold of sleep. When you understand that the crossing is the most important journey you take each day, you begin to prepare for it differently. The hour before sleep becomes sacred in a way it was not before. Not religious. Sacred in the sense of being set apart, treated with a quality of care and intention that reflects its actual significance. The devices go down earlier. The stimulation quiets. The nervous system is given time to begin its transition from the high-frequency, contracted state of waking to the softer, more open state that allows for a deep crossing. You begin to carry intention into the threshold. Not demands. The source field does not respond well to demands, but questions. Clear, honest, specific questions about what you need to understand, what you need to integrate, what you need to release. You carry these questions into the threshold the way the ancient practitioners of dream incubation carried their questions into the healing temples. And you trust that the source field will work with what you bring. The second change is a shift in how you receive the mornings. Waking becomes a threshold too. The return crossing, the recollapse of the monad into the embodied state, And the moments at the threshold of waking, the hypnopompic state, the liminal space between sleep and full waking consciousness, are the moments when the monad's memory of the source field crossing is most accessible. The knowing that arrived in the source field is closest to the surface. The calibration that happened is most available to the waking mind. This is why the first moments of waking are so precious. Before the phone, before the news, before the demands of the day assert themselves and the monad fully recollapses into the contracted state of waking life. In those first moments, if you are still and receptive, you can sometimes catch the thread of what happened in the source field. A knowing, a direction, a clarity about something that was confused. An image or a feeling that is the waking mind's translation of the monad's experience in the source field. Keep something to write with near where you sleep. Not to record dreams, though dreams are worth recording, but to capture the threshold material, the knowing that arrives in the first moments of waking, the direction that becomes clear before the day's noise drowns it out. This is the monad's message from the source field, translated into the language of the waking mind. It is worth receiving. The third change is a shift in how you understand the patterns of your life. When you know that your monad is in the source field every night, integrating, navigating, repairing, making contact with other monads, the patterns of your waking life begin to look different. The things that arrive, the things that fall away, the encounters that seem to come from nowhere, the insights that appear fully formed, all of it begins to look like the output of a process that is happening at a level you cannot directly observe, but can learn to trust. You begin to trust the process of your becoming in a way that is not passive resignation, but active confidence. Confidence that the source field is working with your monad on the full arc of what you are here to do. That the difficulties are part of the work. That the waiting is part of the design. That the things that don't make sense in the contracted perspective of waking life make perfect sense from the expanded perspective of the source field. This is not the same as not taking action. The monad that has navigated in the source field returns with directions, and those directions need to be implemented in waking life. The crossing is not a substitute for action. It is the source of right action, the action that is aligned with the full arc of what you are becoming, rather than the reactive, contracted action of a waking mind trying to manage its circumstances without access to the larger pattern. The fourth change, and this is the deepest one, the one that takes the longest to fully integrate, is a shift in your relationship to what you are. When you know that you are a monad, an irreducible unit of consciousness that crosses back into the source field every night, you can no longer fully identify with the personality, the accumulated self, the particular version of you that this life has produced. Not because the personality is unimportant. It is the instrument through which the monad does its work in the physical domain, and it matters enormously. But because you know now that the personality is not the whole story, it is not even the main story. It is the current expression of something that is far older, far larger, and far more continuous than any single lifetime. This knowing produces a particular quality of freedom. Not the freedom of not caring, but the freedom of not being confined. The freedom of knowing that what you are is not limited to what you can see of yourself from inside the contracted perspective of waking life. The freedom of knowing that the source field is working with you every night on something that is larger than anything your waking mind can fully comprehend. You are a monad. You are irreducible. You are continuous. You cross the threshold every night and return. And the work that happens in the crossing is the real architecture of your becoming. This is what was hidden. And now you know it. Before we move toward the close of this transmission, there is something important to address. Something that arises for many people when they encounter this kind of understanding for the first time. It is the question of verification. The question of how you know this is true rather than a beautiful story. And the answer is the same answer that every tradition that has held this knowledge has given. You verify it through direct experience, not through argument, not through authority, not through the agreement of others, through the direct first-person experience of the crossing itself. The practice we did earlier in this transmission, the threshold visualization, the softening of the boundary, the expansion into the source field, that was not a metaphor. That was an actual crossing, a partial one, a conscious one, a crossing made with the waking mind still present as witness, but a real crossing. And what you experienced in that crossing, whatever quality of knowing or light or contact or release arrived, that was real. That was the source field. That was your monad beginning to move toward its home. Do that practice every night at the threshold of sleep, not as a performance, not to produce a particular experience, but as the conscious preparation for the crossing that is going to happen anyway, as the intentional approach to the gate that opens every night, whether you approach it consciously or not. And over time, not immediately, not dramatically, but steadily and unmistakably, you will begin to know, not believe, know, the way you know anything that you have experienced directly, the way you know the taste of something you have eaten, the warmth of something you have touched, the sound of something you have heard, through the irreducible authority of your own direct experience. The monad knows where it goes. You are the monad, and you can learn to know what it knows. Now let us talk about the community of people who are crossing this threshold, because you are not crossing it alone. There are people all over the world who are arriving at this understanding right now, not through a coordinated movement, not through a single tradition or teaching, but through the convergence of multiple streams. Quantum physics arriving at the primacy of consciousness from the outside, the ancient traditions being recovered and translated from the inside, and the direct experience of people whose waking life reality has begun to feel insufficient, whose sense of what they are has begun to press against the limits of what the conventional worldview can accommodate. These are the people who find transmissions like this one, not by accident, not by algorithm, though the algorithm delivers the transmission, but because their monad in the source field has been navigating toward this understanding, because the frequency of what they are becoming has begun to match the frequency of what is on the other side of this gate, and the gate has opened. If you are one of these people, and if you have stayed with this transmission to this point, then you are part of a crossing that is happening at a scale larger than any individual. A crossing of the collective understanding of what human consciousness is and what it is capable of. A crossing from the contracted worldview that has dominated for centuries, the worldview that treats consciousness as an output of matter and sleep as biological maintenance, to the expanded worldview that the traditions and quantum mechanics are converging on, the worldview that treats consciousness as primary, the monad as real, the source field as the fundamental domain of existence, and the nightly crossing as the most important journey of a human life. This crossing is happening. It is happening in the people who are drawn to this kind of understanding. It is happening in the scientists who are asking questions about consciousness that the conventional framework cannot answer. It is happening in the practitioners of the ancient traditions, who are finding that their interior knowledge is being confirmed from the outside by the most rigorous science humanity has ever produced. It is happening in the quiet space of millions of bedrooms every night as monads cross the threshold into the source field and return with the calibration needed for the next phase of becoming. The gate is open, and it is not just your gate. It is the gate of a collective consciousness that is ready to cross from one understanding of itself to another. You are part of that crossing. You have always been part of it. And the fact that you are here, now, receiving this transmission, is the evidence that your monad has already navigated toward the other side. The waking mind is catching up to what the monad already knows. Let that land. Your monad has already crossed this threshold. In the source field, in the hours of your sleep, the navigation has already happened. The calibration has already been made. The direction toward this understanding has already been set. What is happening right now in this transmission is the waking mind receiving what the monad already knows. The collapsed state catching up to what the superposition state has already seen. This is always how it works. The monad navigates in the source field. The waking life implements the navigation. The crossing happens in the source field first. The understanding arrives in waking life second. You thought you found this transmission. Your monad sent you here. Now, let us move toward the integration, the landing on the other side of this crossing. You came into this transmission, not knowing where your monad goes when you sleep. Perhaps you had ideas. Perhaps you had intuitions. Perhaps you had experiences. The fever dream clarity of Elias as a child. The waking knowing that arrived fully formed. The sense of having returned from somewhere real. That pointed toward this understanding without quite arriving at it. But you did not yet have the full map. The full picture of what the nightly crossing is, and why it matters, and what it means for who you are and what you are becoming. Now you have the map. Your monad is an irreducible unit of consciousness, the actual you, beneath the personality and the memories and the accumulated self. Every night, as your body crosses the threshold of sleep, your monad releases its grip on the collapsed, localized, defined state of embodied existence and expands back into superposition, back into the source field, the domain from which it came and to which it is always connected. The pleroma, the Ein Sof, the Dharmakaya, the quantum field of consciousness. In the source field, your monad integrates the experiences of waking life at a level that transcends the brain's capacity. It navigates the arc of its becoming, consulting the full context of what it is here to do, and returning with directions for the next phase. It makes contact with other monads in the non-local space where physical distance is irrelevant, exchanging what has been learned and received. And it repairs, comparing the distorted patterns of the accumulated self with the original template of what it actually is, and beginning the work of restoration. Every night. This has been happening every night of your life. You have been crossing the threshold, doing the work and returning, without knowing it, without being able to use the crossing consciously, without being able to bring intention into the gate or receive clearly what the source field was offering. That changes now. From this night forward, you approach the threshold of sleep differently. You prepare for the crossing. You quiet the nervous system. You soften the contracted state. You carry your questions and your intentions into the gate. You trust the source field to work with what you bring, and you receive the mornings differently, staying in the threshold space, in the liminal moments of waking, to catch the thread of what arrived in the source field. The knowing, the direction, the repair, and over time, you begin to know yourself differently, not as a personality navigating a life, as a monad crossing a threshold. Every night, every morning, the crossing happening in both directions, the work happening in the source field, the implementation happening in waking life, and the whole arc, the full pattern of what you are becoming, being held by something that is larger and older and more continuous than anything the waking mind can see from inside the contracted state. You are a monad. The gate is open. The crossing is happening. And the work is being done. There is one more thing to say before this transmission closes. One more piece of the map that belongs here. At the end, when you are standing on the other side of this crossing with the full picture assembled. The monad that knows where it goes. The consciousness that has crossed this threshold of understanding begins to approach its entire existence differently. Not just sleep, not just the nightly crossing, but the whole of what it means to be here, in this body, in this life, at this particular moment in the history of consciousness. Because here is what the source field shows, to the monad that crosses consciously. This moment matters. This crossing matters. The particular version of you that exists right now, with these experiences, these distortions, these patterns, these questions, this specific configuration of everything you have lived, is not an accident. It is not a random arrangement of circumstances. It is the precise instrument that your monad has built, through the work of many crossings, to do something specific in this world at this time. The ancient traditions spoke of the monad's purpose, the reason it took on embodiment, the specific work it came to do in the physical domain. Not in a rigid, predetermined sense. The monad has freedom, genuine freedom, to navigate its becoming in ways that are not scripted in advance. But in the sense that the monad has a direction, a trajectory, something it is moving toward, something it is building, something it is here to contribute to the larger work of consciousness in the physical domain. And that purpose, that direction, that trajectory, that specific contribution is what the source field is calibrating your monad toward every night in the crossing. You are not here by accident. You are not here without direction. You are not here without the support of the source field, working with your monad every night to bring you into alignment with what you actually are and what you are actually here to do. The gate is not just the gate of sleep. It is the gate of your entire existence. The threshold between who you have been, contracted, collapsed, defined by the accumulated weight of experience and distortion, and who you are becoming. The version of you that is aligned with the monad's direction. The version of you that the source field has been calibrating toward. The version of you that crosses the threshold not just in sleep, but in every moment of waking life, moving from the contracted state of fear and limitation and the familiar into the expanded state of what you actually are. That crossing is the gate this channel is named for. That crossing is what every transmission here is pointing toward. Not a single dramatic event, a continuous crossing, a continuous threshold, a continuous movement from the collapsed state toward the superposition state, from the contracted self toward the monad's actual nature, from the waking life personality toward the irreducible, indestructible, continuously crossing consciousness that you have always been. If this transmission has opened something in you, consider returning to it in a moment of stillness, especially tonight, at the threshold of sleep, when the gate is about to open and the crossing is about to begin. Let it be your preparation. And if someone in your life is standing at their own threshold right now, a crossing they can feel but haven't yet named, share this with them. When two people recognize the same threshold, something strengthens in both fields. The crossing becomes easier. The gate opens wider. That is not metaphor. That is how resonance works. The gate is open. It has always been open. Your monad crosses it every night. And now that you know, you can begin to cross it consciously, in sleep and in waking, in the threshold of the night, and in the threshold of every moment that asks you to step beyond who you were into who you are becoming. One version of you came into this transmission not knowing where your monad goes when you sleep. A different version of you is here now, on the other side of that knowing, standing on the threshold of everything that knowing makes possible. There is no going back from here. The gate is open, and the crossing, the real crossing, the one your monad has been navigating toward through all the nights of your life, has already begun. Welcome to the other side. The transmission on quantum activation levels maps exactly where this crossing leads, from the dormant state all the way to the untouchable, the full spectrum of what becomes possible once the monad begins crossing consciously. Every level of quantum activation, from dormant to untouchable, is where the next phase of this understanding opens.